Hey, Jesus is Lord. Welcome to the broadcast. If you're with us, uh, looks like you've been here since about 5:30, so I suppose you went away for a bit. Looks like we got a few people here. Go ahead and say hello in the comments so I can see who you are, who's watching, and say hi to you. And we'll give people a couple of minutes here, I suppose, to come in, but we won't wait too long. I have got some things to show you. Mother Goose went out into the garden today, did some harvesting, and I am going to show you the fruits of our labor in a little while here. But if anybody's out there watching, let me know if you can hear me. Bake a leg and let's dig it, Homestead. Welcome to the live. We're just waiting a few seconds for people to come in. I suppose it's a beautiful day out there in most places, so there may be a few people might be outside. If somebody could just let me know for sure that you can hear me, I'd appreciate that. Loud and clear, beautiful. I appreciate that. I seem to have a problem sometimes getting these microphones to work. So, well, as I was saying, we're just now starting to get some harvest off of the garden, and a couple of things that we've gotten. We got some really little itty bitty beets. Let me show them to you. You ever seen a beet that small? That's enough to feed. I'd eat that whole beet, but I don't know if I'd eat two of them. And we got two. So, and this one's even bigger than this one. So that's the kind of beets we're growing out this way. No, actually, bake a leg. That's about the biggest beet I've ever grown. We always get a lot of fairly large beets at the end of the year, but yeah, these are huge. You know, beet seeds are not. You don't get like an individual seed. You get a cluster of seeds, and so when you plant them, you get a bunch of beets right next to each other. And these happen to be by themselves. And that's rather unusual. And they really got big. We've got great ground out here. If you can keep the weeds out, you'll get things to grow pretty well. We had some rain last weekend, and that brought weeds into the onion field, and a lot of weeds into the onion field. So, hey, we got about 5 people in the room, but I don't know who anybody is except for Bake a Leg and Let's Dig It. So say hi in the chat. 7 people in here. Say hi in the chat, and then I'll know who I'm talking to. You can't all be Gale lurkers. Otherwise, it's not a conversation. But we have harvested quite a few different things. Jesus Lord is in the house again. And Joe Serrano from Mexico. Welcome, Joe, and welcome, Jesus Lord. I just showed we're starting to get our harvest. It's just a tiny harvest, but these are beets from the garden, and that's a meal for 2 right there. But that's not everything that we got out of the garden. We got some nice yellow squash. In fact, That's 20 pounds of yellow squash. That's just from one day. So things are starting to pick up in the garden. We're starting to get to the harvest time, and that's a lot of fun. F&P Farms, welcome to the live. We're just talking about harvest. What are y'all starting to harvest? We're all from different areas, and so what's being harvested in the rest of the planet here? Yeah, I'll show you the pickles in a little bit here. Register at the, if I could send you all refreshments, I'd take care of it. Pepper and zucchini. We've got the yellow squash is straight neck squash, but I have a zucchini here. The green zucchinis are just starting to come in. They're a little bit behind the yellow squash. This one is about the size that I like and what we sell quite a few of. But this is what the restaurants want. They want these smaller, there we go, these smaller zucchinis. We used to try to leave the blossoms on them, and then they'd be about maybe that big and they'd have a blossom on it. But the restaurants wanted them, but they didn't pay for them. So, hello, Vineyard Chicks. Welcome to the live. I appreciated your shout out today. And actually, I got a couple of, at least one subscriber from that shout out. So I really appreciate it.
F&P got cucumbers and tomatoes.
Cucumbers and tomatoes and peppers. You must be further south than me. We can't get tomatoes yet. Tomatoes for us, tomatoes, we will get cherry tomatoes in July, not till the end of July, usually third to fourth week of July. And then by the first week of August, we'll start getting some of our slicing tomatoes. Pickles are usually the first thing that we get. This year I planted them a little bit later than normal. And then the reason I planted them late is because I was putting them in the greenhouse and it wasn't ready for them. It's still not ready for them, but we put it in there.
Joe's got a question.
Thank you very much, Vineyard Chicks. We started working on that 2 months ago and just never got around to doing them. Yeah, I don't know. The Mexican restaurant, or not restaurant, the Mexican grocery store in town here sells a huge amount of zucchini, but they're about 18 inches long and maybe 1 inch around, something like that. And pretty neat. Hey, Joe, if you haven't watched John from Willett Grows' latest video, it came out today. It's about identifying a plant. Now, I'm pretty sure it's some type of cucurbit, but we had mentioned the Mexican squash. What was it called? Chiota or something like that. You were talking about it last week, and I think that's what John is got growing over there. He doesn't know what it is because it's a secret seed. So you might want to swing over there and see if you can identify it after the live. But so Vineyard Chicks, what have you got coming out of the harvest? Jesus is Lord. Today we were in the 80s today. Not 80. Well, we might have been 85. I was working in a basement, so it was pretty cold and damp. Simply Jan, welcome to the. I was going to say welcome to the homestead. Welcome to the live. So
Jan asked a question though up further.
Oh, up further? Okay. Jan, this is, I got a little beet today. And then I got an even smaller one. So we're going to eat these tomorrow. We're inviting a few dozen people over. Let's see. Let me run back up.
It's about yellow squash and yellow zucchini and yellow neck squash.
Yeah. So I think so, Joe. I think that the crookneck squash and the straight neck squash, they're very similar. In fact, when I planted the straight neck squash, I thought that I was planting crookneck squash. And you'll even see, like this one, it's not quite as crooked as you normally get with crookneck, but it does have a little bend at the top. This is one of my Australian shallots. We haven't cleaned it or skinned it or anything. They keep better that way. But that is a shallot. When I planted it originally, it was probably about the size of my pinky. I've got a video on this where we introduced, I think I called it like ADA planting aids or something like that, because I want something to help me plant onions and shallots, and we're still working on it, developing it. We don't have it yet. So, well, I wish that my garden looked as good as the Vineyard Chick's garden. So I guess we all want what we don't have. I can't explain it. We've always grown really good beets. Even when I was a kid, my dad, I used to hate beets because when you plant beets, or at least when we plant beets, it's a 30-inch wide bed and it's 200 feet long. And I plant every 4 inches across that 30 inches. So what you end up with is a lot of beets. And then I'll come through with a sickle hoe or a hoop hoe, and I'll thin through so that the beets have more room to grow. But the problem with beets is they take an enormous amount of time to keep the weeds out. You're constantly weeding them, and you know, now I don't worry about it so much. I used to be, I didn't want to kill my beets, and so I'm really careful getting the weeds out. But Simply Jan says she only likes pickled beets. I like beets. I guess my favorite recipe for beets is Harvard beets, but the amount of sugar that requires is I can't eat it. But the other way, Sandy does her beets with, what do you do? 5 spices and vinegar, balsamic vinegar. And I'll tell you what, it's like eating candy. But when I was a kid, I hated them because I had to weed them. And that was no fun. So we're going to try this year. Barb's Country Home, welcome to the live. I appreciate you coming out. I don't know if you all know who Barb is. I think she came over from Gail's site, if I'm not mistaken, maybe not, but she's only been on my site for a while, and I appreciate having her. But yeah, let me show you the pickles that we got. Actually, only a gardener. Moon Sprouts, welcome to the live. Thank you for coming out. So only a gardener would allow you to get away with calling cucumbers pickles, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. So there's one of our pickles, cucumbers, and we will be pickling these. These will probably be bread and butter pickles, or we might do refrigerator pickles again. But this is, I'm not going to go through one at a time. This was today. And about 3 pounds of pickles today. So this is more than we've gotten so far this summer, but I expect that for the next 7 or 8 weeks, that should be a daily occurrence. Britton Farms Homestead, welcome to the live. We're just, I'm showing some of the stuff we harvested out of the garden today. And I guess I'll show you my little mini beet. Some of you have been with me for a while. You're going to get sick of seeing it, so I won't show it anymore. So here is Mama Goose's recipe for beets, and she actually gave me permission to share it with y'all. So consider yourself lucky. So it's a cup of water, 1/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar, 1/4 cup white sugar, 1/4 teaspoon cinnamon, 1/4 of a teaspoon cloves, and don't forget the cloves. The cloves and the beets really worked well together. Bring it all to a boil, add the beets. Fresh beets cooked with 1/4 of a cup of water for 10 to 15 minutes. Really boil, cook them until they're tender.
Stick a fork in them.
Till you can put a fork in them. So this is one of my purple taters. My experience is that purple taters are all fairly small. This is maybe a small one. And that's one of my Norland Reds. But these are all new potatoes, meaning that we picked them before the plant was completely finished. And this is one of my Effies. Effies are like not Gold Rush, Yukon Golds, which I like to call the pre-buttered potato. But the Effies taste about the same, but you don't get hollow heart. And that's a problem with the Yukon Golds, is that you get hollow heart, which is it's not really a disease. It's a fungus that grows internally and creates a hole inside the potato, or really a space between the sides of the potato. And it's black and not attractive, but it actually isn't harmful at all to humans. So a little trivia fact about potatoes. If you allow your potatoes while they're growing, or even after they have been harvested, if you let them sit in the sun, they will get a green hue on the outside of the skin. And that is because it builds up solanine in the skin. And that's actually poisonous. Now, you'd have to eat an awful lot of it to get sick. So it's not really something to be real worried about. But it isn't something you should eat a lot of. But you can just cut that off, cut that out, and keep the rest of the potato. So Mama wants to bring in the garlic. So no, we'll just show them a couple. This is not even a small portion of what we've got. But this is the garlic. And I'm going to give you these. I'm making a mess here. But this is one of the larger ones, so I'm kind of disappointed at the size. This is the first time that I've grown hardneck garlic. Softneck, I've read that you can grow it here, but I've been told it doesn't grow well. And I've grown elephant garlic, which is really a leek, but and of course we let them go to seed. I should have cut those off, but we got real busy. I should have cut them off when they were scapes, and we could have cooked with the scapes. We did use some of them, but I just, things got real busy. Mama Goose had hernia surgery and recovered from that. She's doing a lot better now, but it just made life very busy. And so I haven't been really to a lot of, I try to make it to the lives sometimes as much as I can. But I don't think I've been at many of them. I have a question, and you may or may not, somebody here may or may not have an answer, but I used to watch the Haas Tools garden show a lot. And I'm trying to think of what it's Greg, and I had the opportunity to meet Greg, and then his son, and I can't think of his name offhand, but the last couple of times that I've been able to catch their show, it's just been Greg. So does anybody know what happened there? If they've made a format change or something? But Bake a Leg says, I really want to try to pickle some beets. I hope you do. I've never eaten, well, I have eaten beets raw a little bit. Did we dehydrate beets last year?
They were very good.
Yeah, we dehydrated
like chips
last year, and they were like a chip. They were pretty decent, pretty decent. I'll put that one up, little self-serving, but thank you, Barb's Country Home. That really helps a lot when people give it the thumbs up, because then YouTube thinks you like it, so let's fool YouTube.
Jan made jalapeno sweet and dill relish.
What was that? You said?
Simply Jan made.
There it is.
Dill pickles and jalapeno sweet and dill relish.
So last year, I have to make a full disclosure here. I didn't make a video about it, but if I had it, if I'd have published this video before I tried the pickles, it would have been hilarious. But I made bread and butter pickles, and they were phenomenal. And then I made dill pickles. And I instead of putting water and vinegar, I forgot to put the water in. And so all I had was the vinegar. And I don't know if I doubled the vinegar, or because I had plenty of liquid. I put up 8 quarts of pickle spears. It took me several hours to get them cut the right size, packed into the jars, get the jars all sterilized and everything. So after I finished making them, you always have a few pickles left over, a little bit left over. So I canned them just so that they go through the cooking process. And then I opened that jar and I took one pickle, and it practically killed me. It reminded me of on the Andy Griffith show when Aunt Bee made pickles and they said that they tasted like kerosene. But anyway, a couple of days later, I had my son try one. And evidently, a couple of days in the vinegar, they got pretty bad. So I had to throw 8 quarts away. And, last year, what's that?
The chickens wouldn't
Even the chickens wouldn't eat them, so they were bad. Last year, lids were so hard to find that it really was a shame to spoil all those lids. If I were just putting stuff up for myself, I may have reused the lids. But when you're selling some of this stuff, you really don't want to do that. Yes, if you could send me maybe, I don't know, a dozen leaves, that'd be great. What I've been told, and when I was a kid and we'd pickle cucumber, supposedly the grape leaves help keep the cucumbers, keep the snap in them. So yes, if you could do that, that'd be amazing. Simply Jan says, I finally made a good batch of dill pickles. When you make your dill pickles, do you just use a recipe, or do you use one of those pickling mixes that you can get like at the box stores? Like we have a Fleet Farm here. I don't know what you guys have down there, but Tractor Supply sells it. What's that called? Do you remember what that mix is called that we used last year? It's not Mrs. Grass's, that's soup. But well, thank you, Vineyard Chicks. Oh, I was just going to say, I don't know who I'm talking to, but it's DIY Trey. Very good. Trey, I have a feeling that we're going to end up using your design to make a chicken tractor. Oh, it's called Mrs. Wags. So this is the mix that we've tried using. This is the bread and butter pickles, I think. Hi, I'm Chicken Johnny, and you can use Mrs. Wags' zesty bread and butter pickles to make wonderful pickles from your garden. Tell them Chicken Johnny sent you. Anyway, yeah, Vineyard Chicks says they use it. So I don't use it instead, but I use it as well. And the alum helps. But for some reason, I've had I haven't had too much success with that. Homestead Aquarius, you may be right there, Homestead Aquarius. I did a television commercial in 1982 for Piggly Wiggly. It was a local advertisement. I'd done a lot of radio commercials. I was a disc jockey at KQ 102, Canton, Keokuk, and Quincy, the voice of the Mississippi River Valley. And they had asked me to do a Piggly Wiggly commercial, so I did it. But I did not get to say, I said, right, Bob. That was my line. And that was it. But I wish, and I've Googled it. I've tried to find it. It's nowhere online. Um, and of course, back then, we didn't have. Back then, I didn't even have a way to record a video. I mean, on TV. So I suppose I could have done an audio, but I didn't. So that's an interesting thing. You have a lot of wild grapes. Now, do your grapes, do they grow at all? I had wild grapes at my last house, or the house before that. The first house I owned had a fence in the back, and we'd get grapevines on it and grape leaves. But I don't think that they're really completely the same. Ours never, they'd get berries or grapes on them, but they were very small and extremely, extremely sour, to the point where, I mean, they were inedible. But Jan says her celery is doing well.
Yeah, well, I asked her. Are they starting to get large and starting?
We're in the running for that too. I said when Arkansas Woodcutter, hello, Farm and HVAC. Yeah, Piggly Wigglies went everywhere, but this was in southern Missouri. I went to college in northern Missouri, and then I went a summer semester at Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri. And that's when we did the commercial for Piggly Wiggly.
She makes jelly with them. Moon Sprout makes jelly.
Well, I'll tell you, maybe if we had tended to them a little bit, we'd have done better. Ours, I don't think you could have done that with. But if we had cultivated them a bit, maybe they would have. Cosmic Cultivators, welcome to the live. I appreciate you stopping by. We're just talking about our harvest, and we just harvested a few little beets today. So who else came in? I just got off talking to Moon Sprouts there. So it's been a weird season. I always have said in the past, I'd rather have a drought than a flood, because it's easier to put water on than it is to take water off. And I still stand by the idea that it's easier to take it off than put it on. But I'll tell you, I think our garden is doing worse with the drought than it ever has with the flood. There have been a couple of years we've actually lost certain crops. We lost all of our muskmelon one year. They had all just flooded out. Or actually, it was acorn squash. We lost probably 50 plants. And I've told this story before, but we were out planting, and I was putting the last half a dozen plants in the ground. Sandy came out and said, "Hey, come on in for dinner. It's going to pour down rain." And I said, "Well, I want to get these last ones planted because the rain will do them good." Well, the next morning, there was 4 inches of water in that area of the field. The drain tile had gotten backed up, and it flooded the entire field out. So my chat wasn't rolling, so I didn't see some of this. And Cosmic Cultivators is saying they have a rebuttal video coming out. So,
He got suspended.
oh yeah, that's right. You got suspended last time, didn't you? Well, you remember that television show Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the points don't count and the suspensions don't matter at all? That's how I feel about it. And of course, John is watching right now. He just doesn't comment,
He can't.
but he's lurking in the back. He's kind of afraid to say anything because if he did, if he said something negative about me, then Danny would shut him down immediately. And she runs things there, so.
Homestead Aquarius says, will it grow? Just text me that he is not able to type into the chat.
Ah, okay. Well, that's all right. I didn't say what I just said. I didn't say it at all. Yeah, we sort of saw the end of a fun era with the end of the Bunky versus Will It Grow? Or did we? We'll see. We'll see. All right. Just trying to catch up watching the chat a little bit. Said our goodbyes. Yeah. Yeah. It's some years you just wish you hadn't gotten up and planted, but actually I enjoy it. I think one of the most frustrating parts So one of the most frustrating parts to me about having a garden is that every year I fix a problem that we had last year, but I make a new problem and then I say, well, I'll fix that next year. This year, and I don't know what I'm going to do about it, but this year my onions, I had them, I don't want to lie, I had them pretty well weeded out. There was one row that had a lot of weeds in it, but then we got that one rainstorm, and now I've got lamb's quarter that's 4 feet tall. I just don't even know what to do. Far North Life, welcome to the live. I appreciate you coming by. Everybody say hi. So
Moose stepped on all her onions.
there. That's something I will probably never, ever be able to say. Maybe a deer. We've had deer. I see the tracks. We've had deer through the garden, but a moose. That would scare me just to have a moose that close to my house. But then again, I'm not really. It's not something I've ever dealt with. We had a bear come up to the back of our house, not here, but when I was up in northern Wisconsin. And we used to feed, believe it or not. And I can't believe we used to do this based on what I've been through the last 7 or 8 years with these guys, but we used to feed the raccoons out back behind our cabin. And one time a bear came up, and that was it. We didn't feed the raccoons anymore. I don't know what his name is, but is anybody familiar with the YouTube site with the guy who's feeding the raccoons up in, I think he's in Alaska somewhere. I think he might be in, well, somewhere in Alaska. Anyway, it's kind of interesting to see. He's got hundreds of raccoons that come to eat, and they climb all over him. So Trey says she'd love to see a moose. You know, as long as you were safely behind something that the moose couldn't get you, and I suppose they're not, I wouldn't think that they were very aggressive unless you bothered them. I've seen many bear in the woods, and they don't bother you as long as you aren't getting between them and their
He's in Canada.
And their kids or something.
Raccoon guys from Canada.
Not the healthiest diet. Yeah.
It's James Blackwood of Nova Scotia.
Oh, that's right. It's Nova Scotia. Yeah, James Blackwood.
He's a raccoon whisperer.
Well, my brother-in-law watches that site a lot, and he pointed it out to me, and I'll tell you, I cannot tell you how disgusting I find raccoons to be. You go up in the barn, up in the haymow in the barn, or up at the high head of my corn crib, they destroy. I think if James Blackwood was living across the street from me, well, I don't know. I'd probably just be nice to him. So about 30 years ago, maybe not quite 30 years ago, I was canoeing. Oh, no, we weren't in the canoe. We were in the boat. I was rowing the boat down the river. This river's about 1.5 feet deep, 3 feet deep, and then there's muck underneath that. So if you tried to walk in it, you'd get stuck. We were coming around, the river just bends and rolls and everything. It's really more of a stream than a river, but I was coming around one of these turns where there was a peninsula sticking out into the river, and there I saw this bear. And I had 3 of my nephews and one of my sons with me. And so I just rode past him, and that was fine. But when we came back, I knew we were going to confront this bear again. So I just started singing, and we were singing old camp songs and funny songs and splashing the water, and we came by, the bear was gone. So I don't mind seeing a bear, but I don't want to have a confrontation with one. Gail Southern Living, welcome to the live. I think that you deserve a great deal of my gratitude and thanks, Gail. I am up to 494 subscribers the last I checked, and the last 8 or 10 of them have said Gail sent me. Now I got this whole, probably 5 or 6 of them in one night after you shouted me out on a live. And you shared my live, and I got about 5 or 6 new subscribers, and the next day I had lost 7. So I think maybe once you get close to a certain number, YouTube comes and cleans out your subscribers. So I'm about halfway there subscriber wise. and I lost a few hours. We had a video that had a lot of hours on it, and it just went out of the 1 year. So I lost a few hours there, but we're still well over halfway to our hours. So we'll see. I think part of the problem is during the summertime, it's hard. Britain Farms, thank you for coming by, and you have a good evening. I think when the summertime comes, things get too busy to really stick with things. But Far North Life says that she found me through Gail. And we had somebody else on here, Barb, I think, said that she came from Gail. But yeah, Farm and HVAC. YouTube messes with our heads a lot. Is that a brown Swiss? The cow in your icon there, or whatever it is? I don't know. I have my glasses on and it's hard to see. My screen is actually really small because of the StreamYard. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still a member or still a subscriber. There were a couple of channels that I started watching long before I went on YouTube, and I haven't watched them in a long time, but I still get notifications from some of them, and yet I get no notifications. The only way that I know that John from Will It Grow has put up a video at all is I try to go over to his page on occasion. I have to do the same thing with Vineyard Chicks. I don't get notifications from them. I used to get notifications from Danny from Cajun Hydroponics, but I haven't for a while there either. In fact, it seems okay. Red Angus. I'm not as familiar with the Red Angus as I am. We've got kind of, I think it's a black and white Angus that's up here. We had Jerseys, and that's all I really was ever familiar with. But so as we're coming to the last part of this here, I'll do a little bit of an advertising. Got it down here on the banner. This Saturday, I'll be sharing Bible study techniques. I'm actually going to go over 11 hermeneutical rules from the Chicago School of Hermeneutics. Actually, it's not Chicago School. It's the Chicago Summit on Hermeneutics from the 1960s. And that was how I was taught to study the Bible. And so I'll teach you that. But we're also going to go into a little bit of a deep dive in ways historically that the Bible has been interpreted, methods of interpretation, not the actual interpretations. And we're going to talk about some of the ones that are being used today that you should watch out for. So this Saturday at 7 o'clock Central Time, and it's probably will be this Saturday and next Saturday. We'll follow up with a part B of that, because I can't imagine I'll get through all of it in one Saturday. But if you're interested at all, I will be there. And I know quite a few of you will be there. There's Jesus is Lord is always out there, and the Vineyard Chicks usually come out. Gail's been to the Saturday Nights Lives a few times. And if you can't make it, you watch them afterwards. That's fine. But simply, Jan, I haven't I saw, let me put that up. I saw Bunky imitating you. And then I just saw their video where they have a blurb of you imitating Bunky. So when we get done here in a few moments, I'm going to go over to your channel and watch that. The little bit that I saw was hilarious. And, you know, I think Bunky had you down pat. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I think so. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. All right. I can't do a Jan imitation. But so let's see. I'm just looking back. I wasn't paying attention for a little bit there. You know, one of the problems is things get, like I said earlier, things get really busy, and I almost broke the Shed Wars rules. I almost didn't get my videos done in June. And now we're looking at July coming to an end. So hopefully this weekend we'll do one or two. I think we're going to do one on making a strawberry rhubarb pie. I'm sure rooting for that one because then I get to eat the pie. So, loose faucet. So she imitated the loose faucet. Mm-hmm. So, it looks like my corn is doing okay. Boy, I said, boy, I am not a chicken hawk. I am not a chicken, whatever it was. But I was concerned for a while there. So I had talked to my neighbor to find out what kind of dent corn he was going to be planting and what the germination dates were. So he gave me the germination date. Well, his corn, because of the drought, his corn was delayed about 2 weeks. Well, I had planted my corn 2 weeks after his, so that I was hoping I'd still have a long enough time to get a full growing season, but not risk cross-pollinating. Well, theirs held back 2 weeks, but mine germinated a full week and a half early. So I think, we just kind of passed each other, and that works for me. So, Gail, next time you need to do a reaction video so that we can see you snorting when you laugh. That's funny. I can't wait. I got to go over there when we get done here and take a look there.
Jan does a really good Bunky.
Well, that's what they're saying. You saw Jan's.
Yeah.
So Mother Goose has seen it.
Love the pigtails.
I was out working. Yeah, I did see the pigtails because I saw it on the Vineyard Chicks video, their shout out video. So as we're bringing this to a close, I thank you all for coming out. Just fun time to chat. Hope to see some of you or all of you or maybe even a few more out on Saturday night. We're going to cover techniques for interpreting the Bible, and actually Bible study techniques, but interpretation. It's a lot of people say, well, there's many different interpretations. No, there's one correct interpretation of Scripture. And there are some rules that will help you identify that one correct interpretation, rules of ways, things to avoid. And this is something that I think originally I developed this messages that I'm going to be giving the next 2 weeks. I think it was originally about 1995, 96 maybe. And I've done it a couple of times, so I think it'll be easy to understand, easy to follow. So hope to see you there. I appreciate everyone's support. Once again, this is my little beat that I picked. It's almost as big as my head. And we're enjoying the garden, and we're starting to enjoy eating from the garden. I try to have something from the garden at every supper. We've had a lot of potatoes, fried potatoes from out of the garden.
Garlic.
The garlic, now we had garlic in our spaghetti sauce tonight. Country Homestead Preacher, welcome. Welcome to the live. Yeah, we're just saying goodbye. So, but I'll see you Saturday, I'm sure. I'm going to I should be working on the farm tomorrow, so I'm going to try to make it to your Bible study at 6. And, but until then, Emitzer Shem, I'll see you again. I'm Chicken Johnny. Eat your vegetables. And Bunky, God is not a puppy dog. We'll see y'all next time.